There is an old saying that I think about often: a fish with its mouth closed never gets caught. In the world of money, this simple line holds more truth than most financial textbooks. Your voice, your need to explain, to show, to impress, these are not assets. They are liabilities. Most people grow up believing that wealth is supposed to be loud. They imagine success as flashy cars, designer clothes, and long conversations about deals and investments. Society teaches them that if you have made it, you must prove it. But the people who actually build lasting wealth understand a darker and more practical rule: real wealth is quiet, and real power operates in silence. The moment you start broadcasting your success, you attract attention you cannot control. And attention in financial life is rarely neutral. It comes with expectations, jealousy, pressure, and sometimes outright hostility. I like to describe our modern financial environment as a dark forest. Imagine walking through a forest at night with a flashlight. Turning it on makes you feel safer, more confident, even proud that you have light while others stumble in darkness. But in a dark forest, light does not only help you see, it helps predators see you. Human nature has not changed in thousands of years. We are wired to compare, to compete, and to resent those who move ahead of us. Sociologists call this the crab bucket effect. When one crab tries to climb out of a bucket, the others pull it back down, not because they want to escape themselves, but because they cannot tolerate another crab escaping. The same dynamic plays out in financial life. When you talk openly about your gains, your plans, or your clever strategies, you are not inspiring people as much as you are triggering their instinct to pull you back. In ancient times, people believed in the evil eye, the idea that envy alone could destroy good fortune. Today, the evil eye has evolved into lawsuits, social pressure, manipulative friendships, and endless requests for help. The mechanism is identical. Once people know you are doing well, they begin to treat you differently. In capitalism, information is the most valuable currency. Those who keep it close gain leverage. Those who leak it lose control. Silence, therefore, is not about being secretive for the sake of mystery. It is about survival leverage and maintaining control over your own trajectory. When you learn to move quietly, you remove friction from your financial life. You avoid unnecessary resistance, and you give your plans the space to grow without interference. This philosophy is what I call the shadow code, a set of unwritten rules followed by those who understand that speaking less often leads to keeping more. The first and most important rule of the shadow code is simple but incredibly difficult to follow. Never reveal your exact net worth to anyone outside of your spouse and the professionals who are legally required to know. At first glance, this may seem paranoid or overly cautious, but the psychological and social consequences of revealing your number are devastating. The moment people know exactly how much you have, they stop relating to you as a person and start evaluating you as a financial resource. I call this the audit trap. When your friends believe you are in the same financial range as them, your interactions remain equal and natural. If you decline an expensive dinner or suggest a cheaper option, they understand because they assume your constraints are similar to theirs. But the instant they discover that you have significantly more money, everything changes. Every financial decision you make becomes subject to their judgment. If you refuse to spend, you are no longer seen as prudent, you are labeled as stingy. If you decline to lend money, you are no longer protecting your capital. You are portrayed as selfish. Knowledge of your wealth creates a sense of entitlement in others, even when they do not consciously intend it. They begin to feel that your surplus obligates you to fix their deficits. This is why so many lottery winners end up socially isolated and financially ruined. It is not the money itself that destroys them, it is the publicity surrounding the money. Once everyone knows the number, the winner becomes a magnet for requests, schemes, and emotional manipulation. Even in everyday transactions, revealing your financial status leads to what economists call price discrimination. If a contractor, a seller, or a service provider believes you are wealthy, they often adjust their prices upward because they assume you will not notice or will not care. Your success becomes a tax you pay on every interaction. This is why maintaining the appearance of normalcy is not about modesty. It is a defensive strategy. When people perceive you as ordinary, they treat you more honestly and fairly. Strategic ambiguity about your finances allows you to maintain equal relationships better negotiations, and peace of mind. You do not need to lie about your situation, but you should master the art of being vague. Phrases like, things are tied up in investments, or the market has been unpredictable lately, are shields that protect you without inviting suspicion. By guarding your number, you are not hiding from the world, you are protecting your relationships and preventing your wealth from becoming a social weapon. The second rule of the shadow code is to never reveal your next move until it is already complete. This applies to investments, business plans, career changes, and any significant step that could alter your future. Human beings have a psychological weakness known as premature celebration. When you share an exciting idea with others and they praise you for it, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical reward you would feel if you had actually completed the task. This creates a dangerous illusion of progress. You feel accomplished even though you have not done any real work. And as a result, your motivation to execute begins to fade. Talking becomes a substitute for action. Many brilliant ideas die not because they were flawed, but because their creators talked about them too early and lost the internal drive required to bring them to life. Beyond this internal sabotage, there is also the external risk of competition and interference. When you disclose your plans, you give others the chance to react before you are ready. In a workplace, a colleague who learns that you are applying for a promotion may quietly begin positioning themselves as a better candidate. In business, competitors who hear about your upcoming project may rush to launch something similar or spread doubt about your capabilities. Even well-meaning friends can become obstacles when they bombard you with warnings, doubts, and unsolicited advice. Their skepticism plants seeds of fear in your mind, and when challenges inevitably arise, those seeds grow into hesitation and second-guessing. This is why great strategists throughout history emphasize secrecy. Plans are strongest when they are hidden and weakest when they are discussed. A new idea is fragile, like a seedling. It cannot withstand strong winds of criticism or the trampling feet of other people as opinions. It needs time to grow roots in silence. By the time you reveal your move, it should already be real contracts signed, products built, transitions completed, results silence critics in a way the words never can. When people see what you have already accomplished, their ability to discourage or sabotage you disappears. Operating quietly does not mean isolating yourself or rejecting all feedback. It means being selective about when and with whom you share sensitive information. Execution thrives in private. Validation should come only after success is visible and irreversible. The third secret you must protect is your edge, the specific knowledge, method, or opportunity that allows you to earn above average returns. In the investment world, this advantage is often called alpha. It represents the difference between merely participating in the market and actually outperforming it. There is a powerful concept in economics known as the efficient market hypothesis, which states that once a profitable strategy becomes widely known, competition quickly eliminates the opportunity. In simpler terms, if everyone knows about a loophole or a high-return strategy, it stops being profitable because too many people rush in to exploit it. This is why secrecy has always been at the core of successful businesses. Consider the famous example of a beverage company that has guarded its recipe for over a century. The formula is not just a mixture of ingredients. It is the foundation of the company's competitive advantage. If the recipe were public, thousands of identical products would flood the market and the brand, as pricing power would collapse. Yet in the age of social media, many individuals do the exact opposite with their own financial advantages. They discover a niche market, a trading strategy, or a business model that works, and instead of quietly scaling it, they rush to share it online for attention, validation, or the short-term profit of selling courses. By doing so, they transform their unique edge into common knowledge, and the very act of explaining their success erodes it. Your ego often pushes you to talk about your cleverness because it craves recognition. It wants others to know that your success was not luck but intelligence. However, your bank account benefits more when others underestimate you. When people believe your results were random or fortunate, they are less likely to copy you, compete with you, or investigate your methods. The safest position in competitive environments is to appear less sophisticated than you truly are. Let others debate your luck while you continue compounding your advantage in silence. Sharing general financial wisdom or basic principles is harmless, but revealing the precise mechanisms that generate your income can be equivalent to handing your competitors a blueprint of your fortress. True professionals protect their processes as carefully as they protect their capital. The fourth rule of financial silence is emotionally challenging because it involves the people you care about the most, your family, particularly your children. You must resist the temptation to tell them exactly how much wealth they will inherit. Many parents believe that revealing this information provides security and reassurance, but in reality, it often produces the opposite effect. When young people grow up knowing that significant wealth awaits them in the future, their relationship with effort, risk, and ambition begins to shift. Subconsciously, they may start to view hard work as optional rather than necessary. Why struggle through demanding careers or pursue risky entrepreneurial paths if a comfortable life is already guaranteed? This mindset gradually erodes their resilience and their hunger to build something of their own. They become passengers waiting for an inheritance rather than drivers shaping their own destinies. Over time, this waiting game can lead to adults who appear successful on the surface but lack purpose, discipline, and independence. There is also a second, more destructive consequence: family conflict. When heirs know the exact distribution of future wealth, every interaction with the parent who controls the estate becomes emotionally charged. Siblings begin comparing who is favored, who will receive more, and what each decision says about their parents' love. Small disagreements can escalate into deep resentment, and relationships that should be based on affection become negotiations driven by anticipated money. By keeping the details of your estate plan private, you preserve both your children as motivation and the harmony of your family while you are still alive. This does not mean being irresponsible or failing to plan. It means handling your legal and financial preparations quietly with professionals while presenting your children with a simple message: they should build lives that do not depend on your money. When they grow up believing that they must stand on their own, they develop skills, confidence, and character that no inheritance can buy. If they later receive financial support, it feels like a bonus rather than a crutch. Silence in this area is not secrecy born from distrust. It is a protective barrier designed to give your children the greatest possible chance of becoming capable, fulfilled adults rather than dependent beneficiaries. The fifth and final secret in the shadow code is perhaps the most subtle. You must never broadcast your acts of generosity, charity, or personal sacrifice. Modern culture often encourages people to display their good deeds publicly in exchange for social approval. A donation, a kind gesture, or a moment of help is quickly followed by photos, posts, and stories designed to collect praise. While this behavior may seem harmless, it gradually shifts the motivation for kindness from genuine compassion to external validation. There is an important distinction between living by an inner scorecard and living by an outer scorecard. The outer scorecard measures your worth based on what others think and how loudly they applaud your actions. The inner scorecard measures your worth based on your own principles and your private sense of integrity. When you publicize every act of generosity, you train yourself to rely on the outer scorecard. Your self-image becomes dependent on likes, comments, and recognition, and over time your actions are guided less by morality and more by the desire for attention. Quiet generosity, on the other hand, builds a different kind of wealth, one rooted in self-respect and emotional independence. When you help someone without telling anyone else, you remove the transaction of social approval from the equation. You know you did the right thing simply because it was right, and that knowledge strengthens your character. Broadcasting your struggles can also be counterproductive. Constantly sharing your problems exposes your vulnerabilities to people who may not have your best interests at heart. Some individuals will not care about your difficulties, while others may quietly take satisfaction in your setbacks because it reduces the gap between your life and theirs. Maintaining a composed and private exterior does not mean suppressing all emotion or refusing support from trusted individuals. It means choosing carefully when and where to show weakness and when to remain composed. In competitive environments, those who appear stable, self-reliant, and focused are taken more seriously than those who frequently vent or complain. Silence in both generosity and hardship protects your dignity and keeps your emotional life from becoming a form of public entertainment. When you combine these 5 principles, protecting your net worth, your future plans, your competitive edge, your inheritance strategy, and your acts of kindness, you create a powerful personal framework that allows your wealth and reputation to grow without unnecessary interference. The loudest person in a room is often trying to compensate for a lack of real influence. Noise becomes a substitute for substance. In contrast, individuals who possess genuine power rarely feel the need to advertise it. Their confidence comes from results, not from reactions. By choosing silence strategically, you are not isolating yourself from society. You are simply refusing to give away leverage for free. You move through life with fewer expectations placed upon you, fewer people attempting to exploit your resources, and fewer distractions pulling you away from your goals. Over time, this quiet approach allows your investments to compound, your relationships to remain authentic, and your decisions to be guided by logic rather than social pressure. The shadow code is not about secrecy for its own sake, nor is it about mistrusting everyone around you. It is about recognizing that information is power, and that once released, it cannot be retrieved. Words spoken in a moment of pride or excitement can shape how others treat you for years. By learning to hold back, to observe more than you reveal, and to let your achievements speak on your behalf, you build a kind of personal fortress. Inside that fortress, your finances, your plans, and your values are protected from envy, manipulation, and unnecessary scrutiny. Eventually, when your success becomes visible through the life you live, rather than the stories you tell, people will form their own conclusions without you having to justify or explain anything. And that is the quietest, strongest form of reputation you can build, one based not on claims, but on undeniable results.